It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
I always try to change it up a little bit, and as soon as it comes my turn, it's like, hi, everybody.
Comes out the same way every time. Yep.
It's like, what did they say before me?
It's the same thing we say every time.
Pretty much.
Almost 7 years. We're a lot of things. Original is not one of them.
So how are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Delightful.
Embalmed.
Mm-hmm.
Pickled.
Apparently it's still New Year's Eve at Liz's house, but anyway.
Pretty much. Hope everybody's doing okay out there, and Happy New Year to everybody. And what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy? He's afraid to ask.
I know, y'all give me a week off, and
And a party turns into a bender, and I don't know.
I don't know if it's a bender.
And the bender becomes a blender.
Right. And it all went fuzzy after that.
Good night, everybody.
That's how a good bender works, yes. Things are fuzzy. That's how it goes. Or so I've been told.
Well, God, what did I do? I went off and I got myself sick. That's yay. Start the year off like last year, maybe. Maybe this is my do-over.
If it is, maybe you're not doing it over right. I don't know.
Right. Started off pretty crappy. Yeah, I've just kind of been taking it easy. We went up to the farm for a while, got away. I had some baby cows. Well, I didn't have the baby cows, but
Are you sure?
yeah. I did after when we left, man. Boy, I had a whole cow. Yeah, I don't know if I talked about it before I left, but I started a new TV show called The Last Kingdom. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that one. It's pretty pretty interesting. Of course, it's pure fiction. It's based on books, but the events that happen are kind of historical accuracy, but the guy that's in it, what's his name? Uhtred, son of Uhtred. He's like been added into these stories. So it's kind of like, this is kind of what happened here, but this guy isn't real. So he wasn't there and he didn't do any of this. So, but it's still pretty cool. Back like colonial Danes fighting Englander kind of things. So it's pretty interesting. Like there's 5 seasons. I was thinking it was canceled. It just recently wrapped, but I was wrong. It's kind of, the guy only wrote 5 books. So there's nothing really to, I guess they kind of ran into the J.R.R. Martin thing. He ran out of material because he didn't write them fast enough. So, but yeah, it's pretty good. I definitely say check it out. That's on Netflix. And of course, I've watched Pinocchio a few 100 times since then. So, other than that, that's about it.
And Elf.
Yeah, and Elf every time it was on. For Christmas, my kids did get me a tablet, and it's pretty interesting because I've been a Prime member for years, and every once in a while, Prime will do a thing with their Kindle books where, like on Batman Day, they gave away like 12 comic books. And I never really had a Kindle or a way to read. I don't want to read it on the computer, but I always pick those up just because, hey, it's free. Well, with the new tablet they got me, I have access to all of those comic books and things now. And I do have quite a bit of collection, so it was kind of nice to be away from home and still have, something to read. I had House of M on there, and I've read that a few times, but I reread that one, and I'm curious. I guess that was kind of like a one-shot, or not a one-shot. I'm sure it carried over on quite a few titles, but it was just kind of like a one-event kind of thing, and I don't know, did that carry over into Marvel after they were done with that, or? 'Cause she changed the world, and killed Xavier. So I know that definitely changed, but I'm kind of curious after the fall of the House of M, what happened. It kind of left it, kind of open there. So.
I don't remember. It's been a while. I mean, I was reading Marvel off and on during that time, but I was not reading the X books, so I don't. It couldn't have had a major impact on the other books.
Yeah. You said I think it crossed over probably all the X-Men books for sure.
Yeah. But like with the rest, the rest of the books, I don't remember there being any kind of big waves, but
yeah.
But I could be wrong. It's been a while.
And when they did Secret Wars too, wasn't that just kind of it happened but nobody talked about it kind of thing in the comic books, Like they never really acknowledged that all of that happened after the event was over.
Well, after the first one?
Yeah. Well, until they did it again and
well, with the first one, literally what they did with the first one, it was like one issue ended with the heroes going into whatever that device was that sent them to another planet. Then the next issue was them coming back. And then things just went on, and they would talk about from time to time of what they may have referenced what's happened to during their time on Secret Wars, but it would just say, "Hey, this is going on right now, so you need to go over to the bookstore and pick up these books so you can see what they're talking about." That was about it.
It was more ad placement than
Kinda.
Well, yes and no, but at least it didn't. It's not like something was going on in. Oh, you got to read these other books. Well, I mean that's kind of what it was, but it wasn't impertinent. It's not like what's been going on the last few years.
Yeah.
Where you literally, one of my complaints about the big two, more or less, the big two, is they're just, writers have their storyline, and all of a sudden here comes this big event. They got to stop to deal with this, and then all of a sudden have to change their plans to deal with the repercussions of the event that they had no part of.
Yeah.
One of my biggest things was the Titans series that was written by Dan Evident, who's I've talked about this before. He's one of our favorite writers. You know, he was literally getting the original Titans back together and trying to figure out what happened to them with the whole New 52 and all that. And just by the time they were actually together and as a team, here comes the Dark Knight's Metal thing. And when all that's done, the book has changed focus.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're going from them just trying to figure out what the hell's going on and trying to right the ship and all that, to all of a sudden they're going around the world trying to find brand new people with superpowers and taking them in and start trying to train them how to use the powers and all that kind of. That became their purpose. I'm like, wow, okay, that's a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, it is.
And all of a sudden, the book only lasted about 3 or 4 more issues after that change. I'm pretty sure that was not Abbonett's focus, was to turn around and do that. But that's what happened, and that literally killed the momentum of the book and killed the book. I was pissed because it's like I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you forced me into an event I didn't want to be in, or want to read about. Which is kind of why I like the standalone kind of ideal, where you can tell a story, and this has happened. Which one was it where superheroes were retiring and they started killing them off? I can't remember the name of that book now, but that was kind of cool because it was kind of like this happened, but it's not happening now with your comic book eyes, I'm not sure what those events are called, but
I don't remember that one off the top of my head right now at this moment. But one thing Marvel finally got figured out what to do is, like, for example, World War Hulk. When that was going on, if they wanted to include other characters like the X-Men or something like that, they would do a miniseries. So it's World War Hulk X-Men. And it's 4 or 5 issues of them dealing with what's going on with World War Hulk, but it doesn't affect their main books. Stays, so the main books stay out of it. So it's like best of both worlds. You don't want to deal with the big event. You got your regular book, and and nothing affects it.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with it.
If you want to read the main books, and then you're interested in what's going on with this big event, you get both, and Marvel gets more money.
Yep.
That's kind of the way these things should be done. But no one asks me.
But then sometimes they're setting up a big event. It's like, yeah, but we didn't ask for that either.
Well, that's been going on since the 80s.
Yeah.
Pretty much after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
In a way, it was kind of fun, and Mikey and Les might back me up on this. This is like during the summer. The summer was the big event, especially for X book, or it would be the annuals.
Yeah.
But the thing with the mutant books was it got to the point where you had the big event in the summer, and then the fall was the repercussions of the event. And then winter and spring was pretty much finishing that up and trying to set up the next event. And spring was the precursor to the summer event. I mean, that's pretty much what happened to it eventually. It's like you never really got away from it.
Yeah, it was just one big event after another.
Mm-hmm. But with the rest of the books, it was something going on during the summer. That was fine. Because it was pretty much contained in those 3 months.
Yeah.
And then that was it, for the most part.
The book I couldn't think of was Heroes in Crisis.
Okay. Yeah. What were we going to say, Les?
The problem I had with all that was when they would decide we need to have a follow-up story to make sure that everybody has this drubbed into their heads. Because I don't want that. I just lived through your saga as it is. Don't beat me over the head again with drivel.
Yeah. Well, I think for me with the House of M, why I want to know is at the end of the book, she kills off pretty much all the mutants. And it's like, how did they recover from that? You know, you had the main guys who weren't under her control, or I don't know. I remember how that happened, but too long to get into. But the ones who weren't under her control survived, but they survived knowing what she did. So it was kind of like, how did she go from that back to them again? That's what I want to know. You know, how do you wipe out the Avengers and then become one again? It's crazy to me. So that's why I want to know how did they just act like that didn't happen and let's move on from here, or
was it on a whole different Earth entirely?
right?
Honestly, that's how they deal with it a lot of the time.
It is. Or they wake up and it was a bad dream.
Just make up a new Earth number and have this story there. And we won't necessarily tell everybody that up front, of course, but eventually we'll let them know. Oh yeah, that's not in continuity for this world.
Yeah. Yeah, that one I liked that one. So I don't think you have to be a big Marvel fan to really get into who well, actually you don't, because at the end of the book they bust down, because of course in this different world that she made for everybody, you had some people who were X-Men who weren't X-Men before. You had some people who were guards who would have never done that before. So in the back of the book, it kind of breaks down each character, and it tells you this is who they are and this is what they normally do, but in this, they're, So that was kind of neat, too. I didn't have to know all of the people that I'd never really, I didn't know, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I'm going to quote a really wise person and say, if you have to give me a roadmap for your story, not sure
Right.
I'm interested in your story.
And that's very good advice. Well, for me, it was kind of neat because, like I said, they weren't who they normally were. So you kind of needed to know, if you had never touched a Marvel book before and to know that Wolverine was an X-Men, they kind of let you know why it was a big deal that he was part of the street gang instead, So it was kind of neat. Like I said, there was a few people in the book or in the story I had never heard of before. They've got like a blonde magician girl. I don't even think they say her name in the book. So it was kind of nice in the back of the book. They were like, oh, this is this girl, and she normally does this, So that's kind of cool. But yeah, explaining story-wise to me would have been a little too much. But just who the key players are kind of nice. And I know my son's going to kick me in the ass for even asking this, but does Wolverine have two names?
At least.
Okay.
Are you saying that Logan is not his only name?
Yeah. Is there another name other than... In this book, he was called James.
Yeah, James Howlett.
Yeah. And I was kind of thrown off by that because it's like, I don't remember him ever being called James. But I could be wrong on that, but...
I think that was about the time that they revealed that he's been around since the 1700s.
Okay. So at the time, that was his name, but that hasn't been his only name.
Right.
But yeah, had I have known a little bit more about these characters, that probably would be a nicer story. But if you don't know about those guys, like I said, it is kind of nice. They kind of fill you in on why it's kind of cool they're there, or why it's really weird they're working for Magneto. But yeah.
But isn't that their standard? Don't they review each issue? Don't they say they get you up to snuff, I guess, as to what happened last episode?
I think Marvel does do that.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I said I'm not real versed in Marvel. It's not that I'm a Marvel snob. They've just never really had a character that really grabbed my attention that I'd really want to read the way that DC did.
Who's your must-read for DC then?
Before it was Batman, of course, but I kind of got away from that when, what was that other series? I think it was Zenoscope. And I found like the Fractured Fairy Tales. And that's usually my go-to. I like that kind of off the superhero path. Superheroes are cool. But sometimes you just want something different where maybe the good guy doesn't always win, you know?
See, and it's funny you mentioned Grim Fairy Tales from Zenoscope, because that eventually turned into basically a superhero book.
It did. It really
which
did.
I thought was funny at the time.
Yeah, they did make those girls superheroes.
Yeah.
I guess I like the early. Wasn't there?
Yeah, when it started out, I mean, it was for a long time. They were just doing
Stories.
variations on on some of the original fairy tale stories, and then they started to get a little more creative with it, and then before you know it, several years down the line, yeah, they're basically just a handful of superheroes doing stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know, you're going to run out of fairy tales eventually, so it makes sense in its own way.
Yeah.
You might as well do superhero stories at that point. I mean, that's what sells. So why not?
And some of them to come out of the fairy tales, they did. They had to be superheroes. You know?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's a pretty natural progression. And I mean, I'm not saying they didn't do a good job of it. They absolutely did.
They did.
But,
Yeah.
It's just funny that it went that direction.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's all I got.
Okay, Mikey.
Oh gosh. Wait, I was supposed to do something in the last 2 weeks? That sounds boring. No,
Your dog ate your homework?
Oh, you can still hear it crunching on my laptop as we speak. I don't even have a dog, so I have no excuse. No, I did some stuff. I'm hesitant to say this, but I did finish Rings of Power, so we will be figuring something out with that very soon. We had some ideas on how we're going to deal with that. It's not going to be tonight.
Liz.
Yeah.
But it will
Not tonight.
it will be soon. We're gonna give Liz a few days to start feeling better, and then we're gonna make a plan.
Cool.
I just thought you'd do it tonight, so I don't have to do anything tonight.
Oh no! If you're not gonna do anything tonight, it's not gonna be because of that.
Okay.
You have to come up with a better excuse. In addition to that, I stumbled across something, and I think I know how it happened. It's a little bit. It's one of those search engine thingies that just sort of falls into place every once in a while. You get lucky on them, because we were talking a few weeks ago about Harry Nielsen. I'm blanking on what the actual conversation was, but Harry Nielsen came up, and so I had dumped a YouTube. I went and searched up a YouTube video for a Harry Nielsen song, and I stuck it in the music channel on Discord. And I guess it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, I was on YouTube, not even really looking for anything, and I spotted this thing that obviously caught my eye, because it was the full movie Son of Dracula from 1974. And I'm like, wait a minute. is this the one I think it is? Because that's not available. Well, it turns out that somebody got hold of, honestly, somebody got hold of a print of it and had to do some stuff to get it watchable and put it on YouTube. Turns out that the reason why they had to do it this way was because it's never had like a home video release.
True.
Partly because I think it came right before the home video craze, and also because I don't think it did all that well in the theaters, which is unfortunate because, to be honest, okay, context first. So this movie came out, it was released in theaters in 1974. It was actually made in 72. And it was a collaboration between Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr. Not exclusively, but basically they were the ones who kind of got the ball rolling on it, because this is immediately post Beatles. Ringo was actually wanting to get into Hollywood. He wanted to act and he wanted to produce movies. He was not the only Beatle who ended up doing this, by the way, but that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had stumbled across this idea where he wanted to make a rock and roll Dracula movie. And he ended up kind of casually saying something to Harry Nilsson about it, because they're all friends. As far as I remember, Harry Nilsson lived a lot of the time in London, so they were all around. A bunch of people like that. They also all spent a lot of time in New York City. And initially, Harry thought he was joking, because his album that he had just released was called Son of Schmilson, and it was songs kind of written in that, not necessarily making fun of monster movies, but kind of in that vein, kind of celebrating and having a good time with the concept of monster movies. And so Harry thought he was screwing around with him. And the deal was that Ringo hadn't heard the album. And his wife got him a copy of the album, and they were like, oh my God, yes, we totally have to do this. So they go through all of it. They start the process. They get all of the stuff together. They get Freddie Francis, for crying out loud, to direct the thing. We've talked about him before. He made a bunch of Hammer films. So they did all of this. All of this was done in London. They shot it at Pinewood Studios. And it actually stars Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr, and obviously several other people. Turns out that, given the fact that neither of these two guys is a trained actor in any way, the movie's not half bad. I expected it to be a lot worse than it really was, just because, I mean, you couldn't find it. It wasn't available because it kind of tanked. But we all know around here that just because a movie tanks in the box office doesn't mean it's shit.
Right.
This movie is definitely not shit. It's not half bad. The print is kind of bad. It's not in very good shape. There are like complete dropouts here and there. Not a ton, but enough to be noticeable. There's a few at the beginning. The lighting is off. It's a very dark print for some reason. And so the person or group who put it on YouTube kind of made an effort to clean it up using some kind of animation techniques, which is interesting, although it's a little jarring at times, but it actually works okay for it being an amateur effort. And by amateur, I simply mean not professional. These guys, they were not paid to do this. They did it on their own time. It actually looks reasonably good. There are some parts that they couldn't clean up. There's some scenes that are just so dark they couldn't do anything with it. They sort of did the best they could with those. But generally speaking, the movie's not bad. And it was certainly interesting to have it just sort of pop up on YouTube a few weeks after I copied a link for a song.
Mhm.
And then I had the fun of dropping it into Discord, and and I could practically hear Les squee from here, and he lives several miles away from me, so I'm looking forward to Les's report on this movie sometime in the near future.
And like I told you before, thank you for putting that out there.
Squee.
That's one of the movies I've really been looking for.
Yep, and now you know why you couldn't find it, but I'm
Oh, yeah.
certainly glad it turned up. God, it's interesting. What another tidbit is the okay, so the kind of the plot is Dracula, like 200 years or like 100 years ago or whatever, manages to conceive a child with a human woman, and that child grows up to be, they call him Count Down, and he's played by Harry Nielsen. So he's a vampire. Oh, I didn't say it was good in that regard. It's down with an E, so it's British, you know, it's all good. But that character's played by Harry Nielsen, and he is portented. I'm not even sure that's a word, but I'm making it up right now. He is destined to become the king of the underworld, to be crowned the king of the underworld, and he shows up kind of where he's supposed to. And all of this is foretold by Merlin, the magician, who is played by Ringo Starr. And an interesting little side note there is when you get if you can make yourself get over the fact that it's Ringo, and if you pay attention past like the first scene that he's in, he actually does a pretty good job in this movie. He's actually there's a character there, and it's really kind of, it takes you a second to kind of get past because Ringo Starr has kind of a distinctive voice, but he manages to still act within that, and it works. You kind of have to watch it to see it, because I'm not sure I could do it justice explaining it, but he actually does a pretty good job in this movie. But so anyway, the Count shows up, and it turns out he has another agenda, and so it all kind of unfolds from there. And it's I can't say it's a super original concept, but it hadn't been done a ton at that time in the early 70s. And so this is kind of a fun little take on it, and it works. It works out pretty well as a movie, I think. So it is certainly worth checking out, especially if you are interested, especially if you are a fan of Harry Nielsen. He actually, the one thing that did jar me a little bit is, I don't want to call this a musical, but there are musical interludes. He does actually perform in the movie more than once, like 3 or 4 times, but which normally would drive me nuts, but it's Harry Nielsen. I love his music anyway, so it works out okay. He can get away with it this time. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Countdown.
Yeah, I kind of sighed at first too, but it doesn't really come up that often, so they don't beat it to death.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, where I was going with that was when he does the musical. I kind of got sidetracked on my own there. When he does the musical numbers, sometimes the band that he's got with him is kind of amazing. It's kind of a super group all by itself. I don't think they actually played like on the soundtrack. I mean, there was only one original song that came with this movie, which, funny story, has been stuck in my head for 2 weeks now.
I wonder why.
It's well, I mean, it's a good song. It's Daybreak. But yeah, you've got in this band just playing on whatever stage he sits on. You've got Peter Frampton, John Bonham, Keith Moon, Klaus Vormann, and Leon Russell.
That'll do.
That's what I'm thinking.
That'll work.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to check this out. And the reason why you had Nielsen on your mind because of the Ziggy Christmas special.
Oh yeah. You're right. Because he did the music for that, and then Les and I got to talking about it, and then I threw a song in the Discord just kind of as a reference.
That's where it all came from.
Yep. It's all your fault.
You're welcome. You can thank me now, Les.
Oh, believe me, I thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all I got for now.
Okay. Cool. How about you, Les?
I got to thinking about an old TV series, and I started looking to see if I could find episodes, and lo and behold, I did.
Woohoo!
I'm sure the majority of our listeners remember this, but there was a television series called Night Court. And Night Court was very innovative. It was created by the same man that did Barney Miller. So you have that process of the characters floating in and out of the program. And I saw a couple documentaries about it, and this enticed me even more. There were characters there that showed up just a few times, but they were so good at what they did that they were asked back. And one of them, probably the most noteworthy, was a couple called the Wheelers from West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wheelers, it was later found that they were from Yugoslavia. They were asked why they chose to tell everybody they were from West Virginia, and Bob looked at them and said, West Virginia seemed to be the most exotic place to live. This is notable because it was Brent Spiner that played Bob. And then I had to find a documentary or an interview that Spiner did at a convention, comic book convention, obviously. And he told the story of Elmo, who the writers decided was going to be Bob. And it is extremely funny the way he spoke of it. But in this television series, I found it on Freevee, Freevee, which is a streaming system which is free, and they have all 9 seasons. In the second episode, the first episode, of course, is getting them set up. The second episode featured Jeff Corey, character actor, as Santa, and a young Michael J. Fox as a rebellious kid.
Oh, he liked doing that a lot.
I'm sorry?
I said he liked doing that a lot.
Oh, yeah. And this was obvious. This was before Family Ties. So he could be rebellious. And you could see his character from Family Ties. You could see him as Marty McFly in just a few words from him. But it's fun to sit and just watch these half-hour episodes, and you're at the end, you're done. You dust your hands and go to find something different. But I really miss this show. I know Cheers was a huge show, but this one had a different kind of humor. So if you folks get a chance and go to Freevee, you'll be able to find this along with so many other television programs. So that's what I kind of based my week off on, just to take in this superb group of shows.
It's funny that you kind of mentioned that, because I'm starting to see a lot of stuff for the rebooted series that's coming soon. So
yeah, and that is one of them, which is kind of unique, along with Quantum Leap. But the Night Court is coming soon with John Larroquette as being the only returning actor.
I think everybody else is gone except for Marshall Warfield.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, and Richard Mall.
Richard Mall, yeah.
Richard Mall is still around.
Yeah.
But he decided no, he didn't want to do it.
I don't blame him.
But it's the actress that's going to play the lead is Melissa Rauch, who was Bernadette on Big Bang Theory. And to see her in a film clip for Night Court is amazing, because she does not have any of the sound that she did on playing Bernadette. Mm. And she will be playing the daughter of Harry Stone and the district attorney Christine, who were married on 30 Rock. There was an episode of 30 Rock that had Charles Robinson, Harry Anderson, and
Marky Post.
Yes. And in that episode, they got married. So that was kind of the hook for the new Night Court series.
Interesting.
Which I'm looking forward to. It should be out this month sometime.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, for me, not a whole heck of a lot. You talk about binge watching an old show. I found one of the channels on Vaughn Live. It's listed as City Kids with, instead of S, it's 2 Z's. They are showing Dragnet, supposedly Adam 12, but I think they skipped over it. Emergency. As we're recording right now, they're showing the first 2 seasons of Marcus Welby. and it's supposed to be showing a couple of other shows. I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but I was watching kind of the tail end of the emergency run. And this show ran it from like 71 to 76 or 77, something like that, and then had 6 TV movies in 2 years. Everything wrapped up in about like 79.
Emergency? Wasn't there
Yes.
also an animated series with that?
Yes, an Emergency plus 4.
Yep. I remembered that.
Which kind of follows the old Hanna-Barbera rule. It's you got to have a bunch of kids and then a couple animals. Right. Yes. Uh-huh. And I think there's actually 3 in that one. But anyway, the thing that I had not seen the TV movies before. I've seen some of the episodes of the show from time to time over the years, but I actually sat and watched most of the TV movies, and I really couldn't believe it for one main reason. With the exception of one of the movies, they all seemed like they were kind of a pilot for another show, because you never really had the main cast on there for that long. The main cast members were like cameos of the movie. The first one was literally a rip-off of Towering Inferno.
Wow.
And then the second one dealt with in-air collision, which happens to happen over the house that Johnny and Roy, which was played by Randolph Mantooth and Kevin Teague. I've always mispronounced his name. Anyway, they happen to be there on the call, so they get trapped. And so that explains how they're not in the rest of the movie. And you have all these other, so you have the firemen from everywhere else. It's showing them, and it's like this for the rest of the movies. It's like they're focusing on these other characters that you really don't give a shit about, and that the characters that you've followed for 6 seasons are hardly in the damn movie, except in any of the movies except for one, and that happens to be a flashback movie. So they spend roughly 2 hours going, well, you remember a time when we did this, and then so they cut to that scene from that particular episode. It's 2 hours of that.
Wow. That's ballsy.
It was brutal. But it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because the last 2 take place in San Francisco. I don't remember right off the top of my head why Johnny and Roy were there the first time, but it's them. It's the whole thing's dealing with the fact that the paramedics are all women, and the firefighters have some issues with that. It was like, well, they're women, it's dangerous, they really shouldn't be doing it, and blah 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 blah. And then the follow up, they go back to San Francisco for a paramedics convention. Well, I mentioned it's kind of funny, kind of going back to what Les was talking about with Night Court, is guess who was playing the doctor of the emergency group in San Francisco?
Marky Post.
Pernell Roberts.
John Delancey.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Cool.
And it's funny because I remember one scene in the second movie, because this whole time, he's doing this, but he's also interested in one of the paramedics, and he keeps flirting with her and wanting to take her out and dinners and that kind of stuff. Well, they have a scene just like that. He's wanting to take her out to dinner, but she's interested in a firefighter. And then he starts going on this thing, well, he's a Neanderthal and all this. And I'm like, okay, I could see why they thought he would be a perfect Q. Because it sounded just like Q.
Nice.
It's like, that's something Q would say. Maybe he's come to Earth to visit us and kind of monitor and try to figure things out. I don't know.
That's the casting reel they looked at for him. I mean, come on. He had other roles, right?
Well, I'm sure.
Talking
But
about
man,
10 years in between these things. He's got to have done something else. Jeez.
well, yeah, I know, but it was just funny how he started saying those lines and he did it in that attitude and all and tone and all that. I'm like, that's fucking Q. What the hell? Granted,
See, and you wouldn't have appreciated that if you'd seen it in the late 70s.
oh yeah,
You kind of have to see it at least 10 years later to get it.
yeah.
So that's fun.
So, but yeah, those they were horrible. Those were horrible movies. I can't imagine being big time fans of the show and not having the show on anymore. But here's a TV movie where, like I said, runtime, you're talking about a 2-hour block and your main guys are in it maybe 20 minutes, maybe. You go, wow.
Right, and half of that is just them panning to scenes with them buried under rubble or something.
Mm-hmm. Or they're walking in, hey, how are you going? We're here. And then, hey, we're leaving. We're going back to L.A. Bye. Okay. Just, wow. I hope they enjoyed those checks. I'm sure they did.
I hope so.
Well, I know of something I need to look up now and watch. Thank you.
Okay. For our first topic of the year, y'all may think this is a little late because he's already asked for input, but we actually I'm going to go ahead and give credit to Liz that came up with the idea of doing this for an episode. But as y'all know, James Gunn has become one of the co-heads of DC Studios, and on Twitter a while back, recently, but it's been a bit, wanted some input from fans on what they would like to see coming from DC Studios. So with that said, that is what we're going to be kind of discussing. Some of the ideas we had, we would like to see, and it's going to be interesting because he's come out and said that the movies, TV shows, even the video games are all going to be tied together, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, but even with the video games, that's interesting because Marvel doesn't even do that.
No.
And I really don't know why he stressed video games as well. But it's kind of nice to see that we're going to have the movies and TVs kind of have some kind of a cohesiveness.
Yeah. DC used to put out a pretty good game before the movies came out, and they quit doing that.
Yeah.
So that's nice to hear that they'll get back to doing that.
Well, putting out good games, yeah, I understand that. But if it's all supposed to be tied together, and I did leave out animation. Animation's kind of been on its own too. But if they're all going to be all tied together, that seems a little much. But we'll just have to see.
Well, one thing I'm very happy about was they were talking to him about DC's animation. And I think for 4 years that I've been on this show, the thing that I keep saying DC needs to do is they need to look at their animation department and, get some ideals from that. And he's like, oh, definitely. That's definitely what we're going to do. So it's kind of like, yes, someone's listening. Finally. I think the animation department has nailed it for years, and my little theory, I don't know, I could totally be off base on this, is kind of that DC kind of is like, yeah, whatever, do what you want to do, we're more concerned about the movies and the comic books. You know, yeah, whatever, you know, which has really made some good stories over there. So I'm excited that he's going to start tapping into that and seeing that it's not just cartoon magic over there, you know. But on my list, I tried. I don't know if you were here when I said this, Thomas. I went easy on you guys, and I didn't overthink this, and I didn't want to get ranty with this. But when I heard that James Gunn was coming over to DC, I looked at it as a major score. We've got a guy who's made it work over at Marvel, and now he's going to come over here, and he's going to try and make it work over here. I think he'll have a lot of success. But just saying it that way, my mind totally went to, well, wouldn't it be cool? I think it was back in 94. It was either 90 or 94 when DC did their angiograms or angiograms. What the hell? How do you say that?
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's
Angioplasty.
No, it's where they had, like, Batman and Logan was one guy.
Amalgam.
Amalgam. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, that's not going to happen because Marvel's going to have to be involved.
Yeah, but we kind of, you know, we
I
can
mean,
wish, right?
you can wish all you want. I mean, that's fine. I'm not saying, believe me, I would love to see Amalgam come back, but that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to see some of those come to the big screen, especially some like the White Witch, where they had Wanda with Zatanna. Mm-hmm. And speaking of, I would like to see Zatanna on the screen. We've seen her take some really minor roles in the Arrowverse, and anytime they introduced her into there, everybody was so excited. Here she is, you know. And then she would get there and have a line or two, and that was it. So I'd like to see her used a little bit more. I say let's retire her. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I say let's retire Harley for a little while. Let's let that cool down and maybe get away from the idea of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn for a while. And why not do like some punchlines? I think she came in as Joker's love interest, and now she's kind of kicking ass solo. That'd kind of be nice to see too. Something we haven't seen in a while. Don't have to have complete superhero movie. Why not some super villains? Which then brings me to one other person that I think DC has messed around with. It's a her. They've messed around with her history so much that between the two stories, the background origin stories they've given her, I think they could bring this girl to light and make a very good story, retire the Trinity and their rogue gallery and make their own. But Dula did get a good story with her going. And more of the Earth, what was it, 626? That story, where she's Two-Face's daughter and not so much Joker's daughter. Because I don't know what they was trying to do in the New 52 with Joker's daughter, but that was just kind of gross. She finds a deteriorated mask and decides to wear it and impress the guy that it came from. That's just yuck, you know. Dula had a reason to be a psycho, you know, every reason to be. And I think Arrowverse kind of tapped in on that. What was she on? Batgirl. And they had her with Alice. And Alice Elizabeth Kane, she would also be a good one to kind of introduce and kind of flip things around a little bit if we was going a girl route. But I don't know. I would kind of like to see Dula Dent. Maybe with Alice and Scarecrow. Ooh. Could you imagine them two together? That would be Oh, that would be fear-inducing. I mean, literally. Yeah, I kind of had fun with it. I would like to see some of them actually say, "Hey, you guys did a good thing here. Let's continue that." Instead of a Batman movie, maybe give us a Green Arrow movie. So instead of using Joker, why not throw in some Deathstroke? Batman has quite a big rogue gallery. You don't have to keep picking the same three. And of course, would I be me if I didn't say we need to make this Jensen Red Hood thing happen? I'm ready to see that. I would really like to see that.
Did I hear her correctly?
Probably. Why, what do you think she said?
She had to toss J.A. in there somewhere, right?
Of course she did.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be a Liz list if there wasn't Jensen on it somewhere.
At least somewhere. And I couldn't make him the Psycho. I mean, he has played that part and did it really well, but yeah, I didn't want to make him a Psycho. Well, I guess Red Hood kind of is a Psycho till he finishes his vendetta. But yeah, I guess what my list kind of boils down to is I want to see something different. I love what he did with Suicide Squad. Even if he only let them live for a couple of seconds, there were so many different characters in there that we have never seen on the big screen that a lot of people probably have never even read about in the comics. And it was just kind of great to see him breathe life into him and be like, hey, I know who this guy is, That's what I want to see more of. And then, as much as he's kind of done that, to come back now and they're like, oh, well, we'll make this Batman movie, or we're thinking about Superman. It's like, God, it's the same thing. We're tired of the same thing. Nobody's ever going to be happy with a Batman casting. We're never going to make the Superman movie that we want. Let's just quit now and go a different direction. I think Marvel was successful in doing that, and now a lot of their B-list guys are now their A-list guys, and let's do that over here. I'm ready for it.
So you trust Gunn, yet you don't trust Gunn.
I trust Gunn. I don't trust DC. I think that he's going to go in guns blazing and want to do some really wild shit, and it's going to be DC that's going to be like, I don't know. What about Batman? I think that's what's going to hold Gunn back is DC.
Supposedly him and Safran, which I'm sure I've mispronounced the name, have total control. They're not supposed to have any kind of input from anybody else.
They say that, but you know how that goes down. You do anything that's going to make their cash cows look bad, and they're going to pull you back. They're going to snap those reins real quick. So they may, it looks good when they're like, oh yeah, we're giving you control, and then they see something. I don't.
But they have not been put in this position before. They've not had. This is their Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
So they gotta believe in him or not.
Yeah. Well, me and you know that. Does DC know that?
Well,
I don't
it's
really
not DC.
understand.
It's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Let's clear that up too. It's Warner Brothers. It's not DC.
And I think that's where the problem's going to run into. I think that we have gotten scared of getting off that tried and true. Batman will make you some money. I mean, I don't care if I look at it. I wasn't crazy about Ben Affleck. Did I go to the movies and watch it? Well, hell yeah, I did. It's Batman. I will always go watch a Batman movie, no matter how bad it's going to be, no matter how bad I know it's going to bomb. We know it's going to make money just because it's Batman. Let's put that to rest. Let's let's kind of go iffy. But anytime they've gotten into that, oh, I don't know about this, I look at the Joker. They completely pulled their name as hard as they could away from that movie. And then once it came out and started doing good, and people are like, oh, I like this. This is different. Then DC was pounding chest. Oh, look what we did. Well, they wanted nothing to do with that because they really didn't think it was going to do well. So I think, I don't know.
Once again, that is a different group of people who are no longer there.
Right.
So
sure.
let's get until Gunn fucks up. Let's see what happens. I mean, we got to look at this positively. If we're going to just be, oh, this is going to be crap, we're no better than what we've been dealing with for the last several years.
And I honestly think he's going to do an amazing job. And I think there's going to be so many things that he's going to want to do. But like I said, I think that's the only drawback. Not with Gunn at all. I love his imagination. I love his. When you watch something of his, you can go, he's read the source material. He knows that guy, you know. And I'm excited about that. I want that over here. And just because his mind went exactly where mine did with Lobo, with Jason Momoa, oh, he sold me. I'm not one of those fans that's going to be fighting him on any of this. You know?
Can they do that though? Can they give that to Momoa, even though Momoa's? What happens when Lobo and Aquaman meet?
See, here's my little theory. I could be wrong, but I'll say it out loud just in case. I think that the reason why, even after the new creatives have taken over, you know, with Gunn and the other guy, I think the reason why this Flash movie is such a big deal and has to happen is because there's something in this movie that's going to twist everything. And it's going to be able that DC from this moment on can go forward with a clean slate. So Barry's going to fuck up the timeline again. And if Barry fucks up the timeline again, it's very, very possible that we do have Aquaman now as Lobo. He screwed everything up, you know.
So
from everything, I'm sorry, Mike. Let me just interject.
Yeah, no problem.
Quick.
Go for it.
From everything I'm hearing, which of course could be total bullshit, it's going to be a clean slate after this year. So there is no more Aquaman. This is it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've already killed off Wonder Woman 3. You know, everything else sounds like it's going to be after this year. It's going to be a clean slate, and that means new casting.
Yep.
That is what I am reading in what I'm reading, if I'm reading correctly, which doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Until Gunn comes out and says, yeah, this
is what we're doing.
Everybody's gone. Everything's new. Until he says that, then I guess there's always the possibility of some of these actors staying in roles that we have already seen them. Aquaman definitely is not one of them.
Mm-mm.
For several reasons.
Which he made a good Aquaman. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'll never complain about seeing a shirtless Momoa, but I think that Lobo, if it's wrote right, is meant for him. Just the attitude in real life that he has, his appearance that he has, it's just, I couldn't have casted a better person as Lobo.
So, but we'll just see. We'll just have to. That's the problem, is we have to wait and see, and people don't want to do that.
Yeah. Like I said, I have every faith in Gunn. I just hope that Warner Brothers steps back.
Well, right.
Lets him do his thing.
And that's actually not what we're here for tonight.
Right.
We're not here to hope that DC doesn't fuck this up. We're here to tell James Gunn what we want to see in the next 5 years.
Yep. I gave you a list.
Yep. Okay. I have an idea for
Okay.
this. I don't. I mean, I sort of have my list is all tied together under one overarching idea.
Okay.
Since what we have seen comic book wise from Gunn so far, is mostly centered on teams. I want to pitch a new team to James Gunn. And the easiest way to pitch it in terms of existing canon is I want to pitch the Bat Family as a, if not a specific team, then at least a handful of solo movies and a handful of group movies overall.
Okay.
This is a way where since unfortunately Liz is right, they're not ever going to do anything without Batman being involved. This is a way to have Batman involved without having him on screen the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
He's there, he's part of the deal, but he's not the main focus. And as much as dangerous as this is, I think whether it's the one we don't have right now or not, I think there needs to be a Batgirl movie. I don't know anything about the one that is never going to be released. Apparently, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it matters. There needs to be a Batgirl movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There needs to be a Nightwing movie. I think that might even be more important. I think they're at least equal importance. Those two need to be involved in this. They are too big in the DC history to not have them be major roles in this. I think there should be a Robin movie. How that goes, you might even have a series of Robin movies with each one being a different Robin. Make them all independent stories based on the character who is in the Robin costume at that time, and go nuts. I really still would like to see a Birds of Prey movie. If you want to build up to that or use that as a build up to spin off solo movies for the others, for Black Canary and Huntress, go for it. I think it might be fun to do something, or make Black Canary part of some other story. Make Black Canary be in one of the Robin movies or something, and then make Huntress show up in the Nightwing movie, and then there's a Birds of Prey movie, and you lead that with Oracle, and she brings the other two in, and it's this extravaganza movie.
Okay. Yep.
And honestly, you could go down any list of other characters. You could team them up in some way. It's just, but I think that's one easily recognizable way to keep the Trinity out of these movies almost entirely.
Right. And I agree with you. From what I'm understanding, Gunn has said, it sounds like Batman is going to be kind of in the background to the degree, because they don't want to compete with the Matt Reeves movies that he's doing. So yeah, you may have a Nightwing film and Batman's in there for a little bit or whatever.
Right, they know each other. Their paths are going to cross. They work in the same city, that kind of thing.
So he's going to so the DCU version of Batman is going to take a little bit more of a background until Matt Reeves does his movies, movies he wants to do or something. So like I said, so they're not competing. Mm-hmm. And that's I think what you have is a great idea. I definitely see a Nightwing film, because it seems to me from what I am seeing, DC is really pushing him more to the forefront, especially with the recent events.
Yep.
And it makes sense because he's Batman, yet he's not. So he can be very appealing to a lot of people. I could see that. Batgirl, it was a crime. What happened to that film? Whether it was going to do well or not, it was a crime of what happened. I think there needs to be a Batgirl film. I'm surprised there has not been one up to this point. Because I mean, Supergirl's had a movie and a TV series, and Batgirl has not. That seems a little weird, but that's a great idea. And I had thought about introducing other characters in these films. Hell, it worked for Marvel. Iron Man 2, you introduced Black Widow. Thor, you had Hawkeye. And then all of a sudden, all these guys get together and you got this team. It works. All of a sudden, these are not strangers. You know who these people are. And so, yeah, if you want to do that to lead up to a Bat family film, I think that works real well. I like your idea. I think it would work.
Yep, and the fun part is with a Bat family film, it doesn't have to be a world-ending event.
No.
And in fact, it shouldn't be. We need to scale this fucking thing down somewhat. We need to stop having these grand battles which destroy cities and break continents. We don't need to do that.
Or destroy universes.
Right. We can just have people working together to solve a problem.
Yeah.
A problem that's probably bigger than them. And they find a way. The people love an underdog story, goddammit. Come on. This is not new. This is what half of comics history is based on. Mm-hmm. It's certainly what Marvel's based on. People love a regular Joe saving the damn world. Or solving a big problem, or whatever. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering.
Right.
There doesn't have to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense when it's a group of
godlike beings?
No powered people trying to deal with the world basically being blown up. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. But it doesn't mean that there aren't big problems to solve. For crying out loud,
right.
James Bond movies have been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah, you're right. I know.
I mean, how hard can it be? Some asshole with more money than sense is about to do something really stupid to some city or something, and a group of costumed lunatics gets together and solves the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, it sounds like I'm ranting, but I'm not.
No.
No, you're making sense.
I mean,
that's when I know we're in trouble.
Both you and Liz have had great suggestions so far, and I like them a lot. Okay, Les, it's up to you.
Oh, God. Mr. Gunn, you can look on Wikipedia and look for DC characters. There are so many to play with. There are stories that I recall that I would love to have on the screen, whether at TV or big screen. And right now I have about 20 different that I would love to see on the screen. Some of them would be hour-long programs. Some would be movies. But I know that he can do these well and not have to end up giving us crap like the Eternals. But if I may, I'm going to go down a couple of them. Something I would love to see is the Atomic Knights. I would love to see a story of the future, of a dystopian future with the Atomic Knights. This has not been something that's been done before. The majority of these are things that have not been attempted before. Black Orchid. I think that would be a tremendous character.
Mm-hmm.
How about Blackhawks? I would love to see a movie about the Blackhawks.
There was some rumbling a couple weeks back of Steven Spielberg having lunch with, was it Zaslav? I don't know how you pronounce his name, and Gunn. And everybody speculated, because remember at one time, Spielberg wanted to do a Blackhawks film.
True.
So all of a sudden everybody's going, does that mean that they may be talking about doing Blackhawks? Who knows? We'll see. Stay tuned.
I'll keep my comment. No, I won't. Wasn't he one of the ones that was just that was just recently saying that comic book movies ruined the movie industry, and now they want him to make one?
I don't remember Spielberg saying that. I know he complained about the streaming services, especially doing the national movie theater releases and streaming same day. I remember him complaining about that. I don't remember about comic book movies itself.
Yeah, it was about the streaming thing.
No, I think it's been about comic book movies too. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna write this one off to Nyquil and.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You're thinking about Scorsese and Ridley Scott and some of those others.
Lots of other old white guys who make movies.
I could have sworn he was one of the ones that was piling it on, but now that you guys say streaming, it could be.
Yeah, he was upset about. He was upset about Warner Brothers doing the whole releasing in theaters and streaming at the same time for last year or the year before. That was what he was complaining about, saying and how that.
Right. He's afraid he's going to fuck with his revenue stream and whatever. Yeah. I'm not worried about an old white guy's revenue stream, to be honest. The only old white guy whose revenue stream I'm worried about is Vine. But yeah. So Les, if you don't mind, one more minor interruption to your awesome list.
No problem. Well, thank you, but I'm happy to do this.
You mentioned Atomic Knights.
Atomic Knights.
And it being set in the future.
Right. Where they were riding large Dalmatians as horses.
So would it be fitting to do this in a kind of a retro 50s sci-fi style? Because if so, I have a fun idea for a potential director for this movie.
I can see that. Yes, because to me, the stories were written at that time. So to have them be presented that way makes sense.
Right. You do it as like the future is like 30 years from now, but we're setting this in like 1954 or something. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should let Mr. Gunn know about Christopher Mim.
Mm-hmm.
Because off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody who it would be more fun to turn something like that over to him. With some of the stuff he's done. I mean,
I agree with you.
It's a different scale, but, That's his problem. He can just deal with the different scale, you know. I think it would be fun. That is the thought that came into my head.
If they have a reboot of Justice League, there are 3 characters that I would love to be or have that included. Actually, 4.
Actually, 5.
Who would be your 5th?
I don't know. Well, who's your 5th?
Oh, why? My 4
I need a 5th.
would be Felix Faust, Despero, the original Despero, not that Hulk-like, Kanjar-Ro, and a character that won his membership into the League by defeating Kanjar-Ro, and that's Adam Strange. These are issues that I remember vividly. Felix Faust was the one about the luck or the sorcery. Despero was from their first issue in Showcase, the first issue of Justice League. Kanjar-Ro, of course, was pivotal because of you had 3 villains in that one, and Kanjar-Ro was the one that was defeating the Justice League as they were playing chess. And each time, I think it was the Flash. Each time he moved a character, which was a little statue of his the members of the League, they would disappear and end up going somewhere and fighting of something else. And then for just fun, a half-hour television program. Well, let's look at Adam Strange on his own. Give him an hour-long show on streaming or something, and just say, "Here you go. Here's a mystery in space," and have Adam take on a character or take on a threat to the planet Ran. But for kids, just for fun, I would love to see a Sugar and Spike program. Half-hour program. 2 cartoons or something like that. There is so much out there. And everything should be delved into.
Well, less about that Adam Strange TV series. Hold on to that thought for later on in the year.
No.
Ooh.
Oh.
Jessica! Excuse me. Jessica!
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Great ideas. Actually, something I kind of want. I guess I can piggyback off of yours. Most of my choices are more streaming shows or TV shows, and I'm gonna go off the first one since it would kind of tie into something you were saying. I would suggest doing an anthology show where you take one season and it's based on this character or this team or whatever. Then the next season would be another one, and it would be someone else. And if these do well, then maybe they can be spun off into their own series or movies or whatever.
Okay.
And I would call it DC Showcase.
Makes sense.
Because
Yeah.
that's what Showcase was. They would have like an issue, or they may have several issues where they focused on one character, and I mean that's how the Barry Allen Flash got his own series.
That's right.
You know, do something like that, and if it did, you know, so you do like a season of Atomic Knights, and if it's well received, then hey, it gets its own show, and then the next season could be someone else. And if it doesn't work, then okay, you know, do a season of Space Cabbie, do a season of Captain Comet, so, or even more recently, do a season of say Azrael.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing here is that you're using the term season.
Yeah.
The great part is that seasons don't mean anything anymore. So
Yeah.
you could have one that's 3 episodes long.
Yeah.
You could have another one that's 12
Or 8.
episodes long.
Yeah.
And anywhere in between, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. I should say series because basically that's, you know, kind of use the British terminology because season doesn't mean shit anymore.
Right. We don't do by
when a season on streaming series is 8 episodes, that's a season. I mean, they still call it a season and go, well, next season would be 6 or 10. So yeah,
or not at all. Right.
Right.
Yep.
That
It's kind of one of those outdated terms at this point.
exactly.
I like that thought.
One of the few things from the new 52 I would like to see, and I think you would do real well, is I would love to see Demon Knights, which is essentially medieval Justice League. You're talking about Etrigan the Demon. You're talking about Madame Xanadu, Shining Knight, Vandal Savage, and the like. You know, we've got Ring of Power, we've got Game of Thrones, and all of that. You would think doing something like this might get some additional eyes that may not realize that, hey, this was a DC comic.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Crime Syndicate?
Yeah, I could see them doing it.
Do a story concerning them.
Yeah. So,
because to me they were some of the most fascinating stuff that came down the pike.
I'm gonna borrow something from a previous episode a while back when we did an episode of of comics we love to see as a TV or movie series. I'm bringing this in here for you, Mr. Gunn. I want to see a Dead Man series.
Yep.
And the way I said it back then, how you would handle it, is very similar to Quantum Leap. Whoever you have as Boston Brand as a ghost, when he inhabits a human being's body, you still see that actor. They're just dressed up as whoever's character, whoever they're inhabiting, just like they did on Quantum Leap. That's how you handle it.
Easy enough.
So, and it's offbeat enough, yet dramatic enough that it would be a really nice little. It would be a nice show. You could have some fun with it. Be a little bit offbeat, but you can be dark as well. So, I think that would be a little. I think it would work.
It would fit real well into that DC showcase you were talking about too.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Try before you buy, basically.
Yeah. Okay, my next choice, Kirbyverse. We got to have Commandy. We got to have OMAC. I've already mentioned Demon. We got to have some of this stuff. Commandy would be a fun ride, because Commandy was essentially Kirby's Planet of the Apes. Essentially.
Yeah.
It was essentially Planet of the Apes, except for it wasn't just apes. It's talking dogs and human forms and lions and other animals. And you only had about 2 or 3 humans in a post-apocalyptic world. I would love to see that.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
I look at that and I would say that is a cartoon. But it's going to be bigger than He-Man or some such BS as that.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It would definitely be cheaper if it was animated.
Mm.
Yeah. Which, of course, we always got to look at cost.
Well, sure.
My final one, I'm not going to try to be try to do a soapbox thing. I want to see a world's finest movie. I want to see a movie with Superman and Batman. They don't have to be buddies. They don't have to be best pals and all of that. But working together, have respect for each other, and can get things done. You can also include Robin. You can also include Supergirl. You can also include any of the members of the Bat family. But it would be nice to see them live action together, not trying to kill each other until someone says Martha. It could be a fun film.
It could be almost like a weird extension of a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody loves a buddy cop movie. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. God, and the best person to do it's no longer with us. Richard Donner.
True.
I mean, look at the Lethal Weapon films.
It's hard to argue with that logic, really.
So.
I like it.
So. For what it's worth, it's our suggestions. Excuse me. They're for you, Mr. Gunn, if you're interested in hearing them or not. I know I did see something about Booster Gold being promoted a lot, so who knows? We maybe get a Booster Gold film.
That could be fun.
It could be fun.
It'd be fun.
Especially if they go to the early Booster.
Oh yeah.
Where he was such a braggart.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that really could do nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and we saw some sort of artwork for a potential Blue Beetle thing.
Oh yeah, we do have
the two of those separate and then slam those guys together.
Yep.
There you
Didn't
go.
Amazon do some of that, or no? I'm thinking it's it. Never mind.
Yeah. Amazon did the Tick. Yeah, but we do have a Blue Beetle film coming out this year, if I'm not mistaken. Like this summer.
Is that Ted Cord, though?
No, it's Jimmy. Or Jaime. Yeah. It's Reyes. Mr. Reyes. So. I think Ted Cord's involved, but, like I said, after this year, it's all bets are off. So
who knows, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Would you have any thought about the Atom, Ray Palmer? I know he is on Legends.
Yeah. I think Arrowverse did a really, really good job of standing on their own, and I think they would almost be stupid not to kind of tap into that. You have a built-in fan base on that already, I'd like to see it.
To see Arrowverse continue in some form?
Some form, or just even some of the characters that was introduced to us during the, like you were saying, the Atom. Once again, not a very popular character because that's all they gave him to play with. So, and that's why it did so well. So, yeah, I'd like to see them continue. And not only that, but continue with the same people who made us like these characters. Grant Gustin wouldn't be punching people in Hawaii right now. Just saying. Or I hope he wouldn't. Damn. Ooh, that'd be a shock.
To answer your question, Les, it would be interesting. That may be something they would have to do, like a short, like previously mentioned showcase. Maybe do a season just to get people warmed up on him, and then do offshoot. Maybe do a movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if
Or
you're
do it.
spreading a bunch of stuff around, you could even just include him in something else, and then
That's true.
gauge the reaction to him from that. I mean, the sky's the limit here.
Yeah.
That's the great thing.
Hell, do a Hawkman Adam movie.
There you go.
Since they were together in the book one time.
Just a Hawkman movie with him and Shira. Let's look at that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, they supposedly have a 10-year plan planned out. So we'll just see how things go. All we know right now is he is writing the script for the Superman movie, which is supposed to be a younger version of the character, not necessarily seeing the origin for the 100th time, but like early in the career. So who knows?
Kind of like where Smallville dropped off.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe him showing up in Metropolis. That could be fun.
Yeah.
That could be.
Or it could be late stages Superboy, because a lot of people were speculating, well, maybe it's going to be Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes, which that would be great. It may be a little much introducing so many characters at one time, but hey, we as we mentioned before.
If only there was like a DC showcase concept to help that out, help out with that. That would be an interesting idea. Cool. Yeah.
But as
no one thought of that.
but as Mike, you mentioned earlier, Gunn's done real well in some team movies.
Mm-hmm.
So trust in Gunn until he fucks up. Trust him. He's got more on the positive side than he does negative. So
he has done the thing before.
Yes.
Let's let him try it again. That's the deal.
Yes.
You're letting him try something he's already done.
Yeah.
Again. Give him a shot.
They wouldn't have hired him if he wasn't good.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of credits under his belt.
Yep.
So. Well, just it's just the tough thing is the wait and see. But something tells me it's going to be worth the wait.
Yeah, I think it will.
Yep. We're optimistic.
Mm-hmm. Trying to be.
Yep.
And on that optimistic note, we are going to take a quick break and come back with geek news for you. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. For this week, it is Mike and myself. And Mikey, would you like to go first?
Wait, we have a table?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean table like a metaphorical table? Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, I'll quit screwing around now. All right, so yesterday, somewhere recently, somewhere in the last couple of days, a little news piece came down with a bit of a, I don't know if teaser is the right word. It's at least, honestly, reading through it, the source seems a little flimsy, but given that the source is Kevin Smith himself, you just never know. So anyway, on the apparently modest success of Clerks 3, Kevin Smith himself, based on his podcast, is under the impression that the long-awaited Mallrats sequel may actually happen in the next year or two.
Yay.
This is something that he has been hinting at for several years, to say the least. And one of the fun things about, I mean, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, and he's one of the handful of people that basically made podcasting happen, like originally.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who loves to talk, and he talks a lot. He talks about what he's doing, and I mean, sometimes he does that when he's not supposed to, so it's hard to know what's real and what's not. So, I mean, all that to say, I mean, Mallrats 2, Twilight of the Mallrats might be a thing. It might not be a thing. The reason this, I actually don't want to cast any aspersions on Kevin Smith himself, but that this is like an online news article it's a little flimsy in that regard. But hey, I'm an optimist, so what the hell? Let's look forward to Mallrats 2 and see what happens, right? I mean, I still need to break down and watch Clerks 3. It is finally available to rent on Prime, I believe. So apparently I'm going to have to do that sometime soon. So there we go. That'll be fun. It'll either be fun because it's a fun movie, or it'll be fun because it's a friggin' train wreck.
Right.
Either way, it'll be fun. So.
Well, usually they're fun movies because they're train wrecks.
I was pleasantly surprised with Clerks 2, to be honest.
Right.
I had really, really low expectations for that movie, and it was a pretty decent Kevin Smith movie. So
I like Kevin Smith. I know with a lot of people he's kind of hit or miss, but I think, like you said, he's been one of those ones who has very much put nerd culture on display, and has been a real good ambassador to that, I guess you would say.
Oh, very much so. It's like I said, especially with the podcasting thing. My deal with him.
He did his comic book store thing for a while with what was it, Comic Book Guys?
Comic Book Man.
Comic Book Man. There we go. That was pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah. My if I have a concern, it's that I haven't really been particularly interested in anything he's done in the last 10 years movie wise. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go into Clerks 3 sometime in the near future, with a bit of trepidation. But I hope that I'm wrong and that it makes me very much look forward to Mallrats 2, because I actually saw Mallrats first. Mm-hmm. I saw Mallrats before I saw Clerks. And I really liked Mallrats. And I really liked Clerks. And I really liked Dogma. And I really liked a lot of his movies that came out in that kind of that first 10 years. Yeah, that first 10, 15 years. So I'm down for a Mallrats 2. Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah. I guess I was a little later to Kevin Smith. I was introduced to him with Jay and Silent Bob. And that's about the time I got into him, and then watched Clerks and all that. But what makes this news even more exciting, though, is people have been asking him to do a follow-up to Mallrats, and he hasn't been able to because Harvey Weinstein actually owns the first one. So he's been trying to get the rights back for, we all know why he's been doing that, but he's been trying to get the rights back, and he's like, I don't really want to do anything that will profit him. kind of thing.
Right.
And now I guess with the judgment, and that stuff in place, that he's finally got his movie back. So I'm kind of excited just about that alone.
Right, that alone is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I had forgotten about that because now that you mentioned that, I remember him. I guess the idea was supposed to be like a version of Porky's is what what they were looking for. That he said I think in the commentary or something like that. Which, if you watch Mallrats, it's not Porky's.
It's not even close.
No,
it's not even close. So,
well, it is a group of friends hanging out together, but yeah, that's about as close as they get.
Hey, I'd say it has more in common with Dawn of the Dead than it does with Porky's, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Actually, you can.
It's a sailboat. I can't spend the last hour saying trust in Gunn and let's think positive, all that, and then turn around and slam Kevin Smith on wanting to do Mallrats too. So yeah, let's see what happens, and it could be fun. It may not. Who knows? We won't know until we see it. So.
Yep.
The only problem I have is looking at his last movie with Silent Bob. That was such a piece of crap. And my question is, has his fan base been... I know that there are those that are loyal to the end, and I'm one of them. But is his fan base going to be enough to make this a hit movie?
Well, I mean, he's really not had any kind of hits.
I think it'll be like all of his stuff. It may not hit it at the box office, but it'll definitely find its following after.
Yeah. It's not like he's really had any smash hits. It's just they've kind of done okay and
made their money back and a little more, and he can pretty
Little
much crank
buzz.
them out
Yep.
as fast as he wants. So.
Well, and his last one was just weird, and that's, as a Kevin Smith fan, Tusk was just weird.
Tusk was not his last movie.
No, I stopped after that.
Yeah, I actually stopped a little before. That's probably where I stopped too, honestly.
Yeah,
I stopped before that myself.
Weird.
I forgot that he did another Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Yeah.
Recently too, honestly. I just completely forgot. So.
Yeah, I didn't.
I
don't think I knew that.
Too, but.
Yeah.
And he co-starred with his daughter.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoy Kevin Smith movies. I just don't know if the fan base is going to be there, because we'll say it's a hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make it a hit until he goes on streaming or something.
Yeah.
Is that going to be enough to make him happy and say, okay, I did it, now we can shut down?
I think for him, it would. I think this is totally a fan-loved project for him. And I think it would be enough for him. But yeah, I definitely see this as one of those that it's going to be late to the game. And for some reason, Napoleon Dynamite standing out in my head. Totally flopped at the box office. Totally. Nobody went and watched that movie. But now it's got like its own little cult, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It'll definitely be one like that.
See, you say that, and it brings back memories of me when I went to go see Jay and Bob Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in the whenever the hell that was, 97 or whatever. Yeah, I recall there being 4 of us in that movie theater that day. It didn't do great. His movies don't do great in the box office. Honestly, with the whole new dynamic of what makes films successful in the post-COVID era, not to throw too many friggin' buzzwords out, it will be interesting to see how much. I mean, he apparently said, according to this news thing, he said on his podcast that Clerks 3 was enough of a success to do something more. And I don't think it got a widespread theatrical release at all, did it?
I don't think it did. No.
I think it's basically been all streaming. I mean,
Yeah,
it got a limited release, I think, in theaters, but otherwise it's been streaming. And he says that's good enough. So, I don't know. We'll see.
That's what I was thinking they would do with Mallrats. It would be basically streaming, and then maybe an opportunity to be in theaters for a weekend or a couple of weeks max.
Right, what they used to call a limited release.
Right.
I think if they do the streaming thing, it'll do really well. Just a lot of his fan base, yeah.
Well, there's going to be some people like say like Mike and me, and I'm maybe yourself, that they might be curious enough, but they're not curious enough to actually go to the theater to see it. But if it's streaming, they may take it. They may give it a chance.
Right, I'll throw $3 at it. What the hell?
Yeah,
I got anything to kill. Sure.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yep.
It's a safer bet that way.
And I think that's becoming more normalized. So,
it should.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. For me, my news item is actually a couple weeks old, but I saved it because this is going to change things if things go through the way it could happen. And I did post this on Discord when it came down. There are 2 people who are bringing a lawsuit to Universal, citing false advertisement for the film Yesterday, which was the film that Les saw and talked about a while back and enjoying the heck out of it. Their complaint is in the trailer, you see actress Ana de Armas, but when these 2 people who spent a whopping $8 between the 2 of them to watch this film, she was not in it. And she was the thing was from the screenwriter's response was her scenes were cut out due to when they test filmed it, they didn't like her character being in the film because it took away from the film's love interest.
Okay.
So they were so upset that they essentially wasted $8 to see this film. They're bringing about a $5 million lawsuit. And on December 20th, the judge says, yeah, I don't see a problem with this. Yeah, it's false advertising. Go ahead and let this lawsuit go through. So
I think the lawyers should have got a hold of this before it went so far and gave each one of them $10 and been like, sorry. Let's keep this out of court. I can see where this happened. A lot of times before the movie's actually finished and done, we get a trailer. Just something little, keep us teasing, And the very end product could be totally different. We've seen it so many times with trailers, not making it right, but I can see how it happens. You know, especially the way they explained this, it took away from the story, and that's not the direction they wanted to go in. They shouldn't be penalized now because their creativity took them to a different direction. You know, to me,
Yes, I totally agree with you. It is another example of we're not getting what we want, so we're going to make someone else pay for it. This is the same mentality of fans going to change.org saying, well, we need to get rid of the Star Wars sequels and we want new films. You know, we hated how Halloween Ends came out. We want you to remake the film. You know, we hate the fact that Henry Cavill has left The Witcher. So we need to bring him back and get rid of the writers. It's just this mentality that we didn't get what we want, so
now we're gonna sue.
So we're gonna sue, or we're gonna do this other shit just to make you know that we're upset. And it's just like, oh my God, the sense of entitlement people have is crazy.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are scenes, there are alternate shoots of scenes. They're in trailers. They're in all the time. Yep. They're in there all the time, and they may not make it in the film. Does that really destroy the film? Well, I guess if you're a fan of this actress, you expecting her to be in there. It's like when Dune came out, the new version of Dune came out. And what was her name? Zendaya? How you forgot to pronounce her name? Zendaya. You know, she's in the trailer, and then people come out of the film with, well, she didn't show up till the end. I was like, yeah, because her character is going to be primary in the second part, in part 2 of this. Yep. She wasn't a major figure in the first part. You know, if you read the fucking books, you'd know that.
Yep.
But no, people got pissed off about that shit. And it's just like, you know, she's in the film.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of asking them to, I don't know. Like I said, the reason it would have made more sense if they would have said that she was like a star of this show and then totally cut her out. But she was a supporting actor anyways. You can't always bank on them to be in your finished product. That's why they're supporting and not main. You know?
Well, I mean, I guess you can look at it that she was big enough that they felt they needed to put her in the film, in the trailer, that it could get people to come see the film. But, you know,
yeah,
things happen. You know, it wasn't a bait and switch. No. It wasn't something intentionally done by the director and all this. This was based off of people saying we don't want her in there because it takes away from the romance of the main characters.
Yeah. Well, interfered with the main story.
Yeah, it interfered with the main story.
Yep.
And you know what? That's a valid criticism.
It is. And when you're trying to trim your movie down, it's easy to cut, you know? Keep the better stuff in. This didn't add to it. It's taking away. Cut it. Not now have to worry about, but if we cut this, we may be sued for $10 million.
We might piss off 2 fans.
Yeah.
Guess what they're not going to consider?
Who rented the movie, didn't even go to the movies to watch it. They rented the movie. Because there's no way
they paid $8 to get into a movie theater.
Right. So it's like you didn't even care enough to see it when it first came out, you know. Yeah. Like I said, I would have caught this before it went to court and just gave them both $10 and been like, shut the fuck up. Didn't happen. Here's your money back. Go away.
And the thing is, in the article, it says, quote, they are seeking at least $5 million as representatives of a class of movie customers. Bullshit.
That is bullshit.
Are you really going to go around the country or around the world, say, hey, here's the $4 you rented on this movie, and you're pissed off because she was not in it?
Yeah.
Right.
Now this isn't a class action suit, though, right? It's just
No,
these two twits.
It's these two assholes.
Right.
Yes.
That's why they worded it the way they did,
Well,
was so that they
yeah.
weren't calling it a class action.
See, then you
Because
can't
that's a
do
real
that.
legal term.
Yeah, if you collect funds for other people, which they're claiming they're doing, then you're going to have to distribute the funds.
Which is just as misleading as having Ana de Armas in the fucking trailer.
Exactly. Thank you. My brain couldn't get it there. Thank you, Mikey.
Mm-hmm. It is just as misleading.
It is.
It is using the same tactics that they're suing Universal Pictures for.
Exactly.
So again, I have to. Given that, I have to agree with Liz. This should never have ever made it, even before a judge.
Yep.
The lawyer should have looked at them and said, "You're kidding, right?"
Yeah. Let's give them some money. Not a lot.
Or, you're going to give me more money than you lost on this movie to tell you you're stupid. Fuck off.
Yeah. How about we pay the actress and have her tell them that? That's what I would have done.
Well, she already got the money, so
Yeah.
Right. She got paid. It didn't matter to her at all.
So she don't care.
Right.
I'm sure
that's
she
what
was
I'm saying.
Mildly
Rub a little
disappointed
salt
that she
in the
got cut out,
wound.
but
let's pay her a little extra money and tell these two guys to fuck off for us. That'd be hilarious. They're upset because she's not in it and she's paid to tell them, go away.
This is an X-rated episode, right?
Oh, they all get marked. What's the term?
So now the case will, quote unquote, proceed to discovery and a motion for class certification. Whatever the hell that means.
Legalese.
Yeah.
It's probably going to get shot down somewhere in there anyway.
Oh yeah, someone's going to say, you're full. And you talk about it being the same thing as her cutting it out. It's actually worse because what they're doing is intentional. It was not the director's intention to,
Right.
The whole
trailer that was made probably immediately after principal shooting, and possibly even before the end of principal shooting. Before all of post-production, they slapped this trailer together. There's no way that's premeditated.
Right.
This lawsuit is premeditated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
You are doing this on purpose. Go away.
Yep. I think, yeah. This will go further and they'll be laughed at. And
well, you say that. I hope you're right. But man, this could be a dangerous precedent if it does go through and they're successful.
Yeah.
Because it means movie studios are going to have to go through their trailers with a fine-tooth comb, so they make sure they don't get sued.
Well, it'll make us have to wait longer.
Yeah,
Usually
right.
these trailers that are so disconnected from the movie, it's because they months, years, maybe even before the movie came out, they wanted to give us something to show us we've been working on this. It's not finished product, but now it'll make us wait. Now it'll have to be a finished product before they can get that trailer to us.
Let's be realistic. All of the process of making the trailer for the movie is part of the marketing budget. They're not telling us that they want you to get excited about it, so you'll pay them money to go see the movie. Well,
Yep.
All this means is that we won't get them as early.
Yep.
Because they have to wait until they know what at least a final cut of the movie is going to look like and who's going to be in it. It wouldn't be that much harder to just make a trailer that doesn't include footage from the movie.
Yeah.
You could there's easy ways to do that.
It's kind of sad though, because who doesn't enjoy a sneak peek,
Yeah.
Right. But no, that's something that the world today is going to do, is it's going to ruin that for everybody.
Yeah.
Just like it ruins nearly everything else.
Yeah.
Got their panties in a knot. That's insane.
It's going to change San Diego Comic-Con quite a bit.
There'd be a lot less talking, or a lot more talking and a lot less sneak previews.
Seeing. Yep. Maybe just post pictures. Hey, here's so and so.
Yeah.
That's so and so.
No, don't show. You can't even show people. Just pictures of sets.
Yeah.
Here's the room where we're going to shoot this scene, or where we shot this scene. But we can't show you any people because they might get cut out of the movie. But the set won't.
Although Zachary Levi did a really good job playing up Shazam without spoiling Shazam, and without any trailers either. Before the trailer came out, he was telling us what it was about. So that's kind of cool too. But I still like this.
But not everybody can do that.
That's true. That's what I was about to say.
We found out later, and we won't go into that again. But
yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's sad, and what upsets me is that they don't seem to understand how creativity works. They
don't care.
They don't. Because it didn't suit their ideal of what that movie should have been.
Once again, they didn't get something they want, so they want to make someone else pay for it.
They're going to throw a fit.
Mm-hmm. And throw a fit. All righty. You see, that was a good thing. That's the reason why I held on to that for a couple of weeks. I knew we'd get some good discussion out of it.
Some good old people crankiness, anyway.
So, any special shout-outs this week?
No, not me.
Yeah.
Not here.
Okay. Go ahead and go on to our regular shout-outs. Want to thank Pop Goes to Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be a part of a great group of fellow podcasts. We want you to check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter by retweeting our links. They are part of the Pottern family, so to check them out, just go to Twitter, do a search, hashtag Pottern family. Just scroll through, and whatever catches your attention, click on the link and download that episode. We hope you have a good time listening to them. We also want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. There will be a link in the show notes. You can check them out. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, observations, complaints, what have you, send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. Didn't mention this earlier, but we do have a Discord that you can come join. Got a lot of good stuff on there. We also have a section there for feedback that you can post your thoughts there. Discord is free and available on all app stores. We do have an open invitation on the homepage, so you can go there and join us. Social media. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We're also on Instagram @FellowshipGeeks. That also happens to be our Twitter handle. That is also our handle on Hive Social. We're on Hive Social now. Still trying to get our feet wet over there. So definitely join us there if you'd like. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would take a couple of moments to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We do appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,